I started writing music in 2003. That was 21 years ago. That's right, my composition journey can drive, vote, and purchase alcohol. It can't, however, rent a car or run for Senate quite yet. Here recently, I happened upon a draft of my first song that I ever wrote back in 2003. And it will not be making an appearance here today, but it did get me thinking about all that I've learned about writing music in the last 21 years. And what I would do if I had to start again from absolute zero, but I've got all of the knowledge that I have now. I'm also going to say practice/write a lot of music goes without saying. I understand that I did just say it just now, but it did not make my list. So the first thing that I would do is I would listen and read widely. What I had back in 2003 was the radio and whatever CDs that I had or my parents had or that my friends had. That was it. So the ability to listen to a wide range of music, that wasn't really something that I had available. But now we do. This is something that I tell all of my students. Just listen to and ingest as much music as possible. Music that you like, music that you don't like, music that's in your culture, music that's in every other culture. Try to find something in every type of music that you connect with and that you can learn from. Also, read widely. There are plenty of books available that will teach you about really anything you want to know about music. There's also scholarly journal articles. Find a subject that fascinates you and then just dig in. My fascination here recently has been klangfarben melody, which is a melody that's made entirely out of timbre. And if you're curious, I do have my top 10 book recommendations for composers down in the description. Number 2 would be collaboration. Working with other musicians is a great way to develop as a songwriter and as a composer. Your perspective expands when you're around other musicians who have a different perspective, different skill level, different instrument, different backgrounds, and different musical ideas. It also gives you pretty quick and reliable feedback about the music that you write. If it goes to rehearsal, you'll have a pretty good understanding of what is good about your music and what about it still needs to be fixed. And, honestly, other musicians are just fun to be around. Composition can be a really lonely sport. Being around other musicians makes it a lot more fun. So start a band, especially if you're in high school. It's really fun to do. And if you're a music major specifically, I want to encourage you to see your classmates as your collaborators and not your competition. There's a lot of reasons for this, not the least of which is your sanity as you go through music school, but it's just way better to see your fellow musicians as collaborators and not the people that are going to take jobs from you. And as a composer, I personally received most all of my commissions coming out of grad school from classmates of mine. Music is a very communal art, so collaboration is an all-around win. The third thing I would do is I would get really good at my instrument. I'm not virtuosic at my instrument, and I feel like that creates a gap between the things that I want to make and the things that I can create. I didn't take it seriously when I was given the opportunity to learn piano in the 4th grade. I wanted to play guitar and do it by ear and not play the piano where I had to read sheet music. It was a poor life choice, but I really can't put too much blame on my 4th grade self. How was I to know? But being good at your instrument has all sorts of advantages. It makes it a lot easier to know if something is playable if you can just sit down and play it. That's not to say that you can't write for an instrument that you don't play. Composers do that all of the time. But especially in today's musical landscape, the ability to write something and then play it is extremely valuable. Number 4, figuring out my own voice. This is another regret that I can't really blame myself for not knowing. I spent a lot of my early career kind of just getting good at every genre that I was involved with, which is not a bad thing. My rationale there is that it would have made me more hireable as a composer to be good at all of these different genres. But it kind of just left me writing bland music, worse versions of other music that already exist in that genre. And so now I'm trying to actively carve out my own voice from that. And yeah, I'm trying to use my knowledge in all of those different writing styles to my advantage, but if I had to start again from zero, I would focus a lot more on finding my own voice and writing style earlier on in the process. So you remember I said that I started writing music in 2003. Yeah, I had just learned how to play guitar and I was ready to start writing songs, but I didn't have access to composition lessons or anything like that. And so I just started making stuff up. And it wasn't good. Even when I did take a composition class, it was mostly just analysis of other composers' works. It wasn't until I had someone guide me all the way through the composition process that I could actually take an idea and turn it into a cohesive musical work, and I actually started improving as a composer. If you are just now starting out on your composition journey, I want to save you from all of those years that I just tried a whole bunch of stuff hoping that maybe one day it would click. I want to save you the time of trying to piece together all of the parts of the writing process and still not even really knowing what pieces of the puzzle you're missing. I want to give you all of the tools that you need not only to write your first piece, but to repeatedly be able to turn your ideas into musical expression, so that your only limitation is your own creativity and imagination. I've got an online course designed specifically to walk you through the process of writing your first song or piece in the next 30 days. I've systematized 20 years worth of lessons that I learned the hard way, and I've packaged them into a curated online course, which is the very course that I would have loved to have 21 years ago when I started. So if you're looking to write your first piece, or even if you've written before and it just turned out to be a complete mess, this course is for you. There is more information in the description below, so make sure to check that out. I'd like to close with 3 quick things that I wouldn't do if I had to start over. And number 1 is to rely on my friends and family to do my marketing. I didn't get a ton of marketing help from my friends and family early on, and at first I was offended by that, but really it makes sense. My non-musician friends, number 1, don't really listen to the sorts of genres that I write, and number 2, they don't have any reason whatsoever to purchase choir sheet music. Your friends and family can be very supportive without doing your marketing. So that's not a burden that we should place on them, nor is it something that we should be offended when they don't do. The second thing that I wouldn't do is enter composition competitions. There's a lot of reasons for that. And I'm not saying that you're wrong if you do enter these competitions. I've definitely done that. I know others that have seen success there, but here are some reasons why I would not. Number 1, it's the subjective opinion of whatever judge is judging the competition. Number 2 is they usually have some sort of entry fee, and so you're paying money for the chance that your music is the winner, and often the reward is just not worth all of the money that you spend in entry fees for all of these different competitions. Number 3, it often requires you to write a work specifically for that competition, and they often have a really weird instrumentation like bassoon, piccolo, and trash can lid. And number 4, the overall impact of these competitions on your overall career trajectory is going to be pretty minimal. You know, often when your work is performed, it doesn't mean that there's going to be another performance of it. The people that are in the audience typically are listeners and not other ensembles that also need that piece of music. So rather than competitions, I have found that building meaningful relationships with other musicians has been much more beneficial and sustainable as a career path. So those are 4 things that I would do and 3 things that I wouldn't do if I had to start over from zero as a composer today. I do hope that you have found these things to be useful, especially if you are a composer who is early on in your journey. If you're a more seasoned composer, I'll ask you, what would you do and what would you not do if you had to start over? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.